Hey guys, welcome back to Pete's Behavioural Insights and Theories, aka Pete Spits. This is the first episode of a new series where I talk about the behavioural science and psychology of the services that you use in everyday life. And since this is the first episode, I thought it would be fun to talk about the service that you're using right now, and that is YouTube. And just to prove to you that I know what I'm talking about, I'm going to be using a behavioural science technique on you, and if you want to find out what I did, you're going to have to wait till the end of the video where I reveal my secret. Alright. On with the video. So the first thing I want to talk about is YouTube thumbnails. Now, making a good thumbnail is definitely an art, but there are some common trends that I've noticed that make thumbnails especially effective. One common trend that I've noticed is the use of red circles and red arrows in thumbnails. Now, the reason why people use red arrows and red circles in their thumbnails is to highlight what the important information is in the picture in the thumbnail. And they use the colour red for the same reason, because as you can see by my t-shirt, it stands out from the background and the more muted colours that we experience in most of our day-to-day life. In behavioural economics, we would call this improving the salience of the thumbnail. And what salience is simply making the important information stand out from its background. And it's actually what a lot of behavioural science consultancy work involves. A lot of the time, the reason why behavioural interventions fail is because the important information that the target audience needs to know doesn't stand out from the background that it's presented against. In the famous behavioural economics framework that was sent to the British government, Paul Dolan and his co-authors wrote this about salience. The more the message or signal is specific and salient to us as individuals, the more powerful it is likely to be. So by using red arrows and circles on the thumbnail, the YouTubers are signaling that there's something important in that area that people should pay attention to, and therefore people are more likely to click on their video. Another trend that I noticed that a lot of successful YouTubers use is putting their face in their thumbnail. In fact, this is a technique that I've used in my own thumbnails recently. Putting a face in your thumbnail is a really smart idea for driving attention to your video. And the reason for that is that humans have an extremely heightened sensitivity to recognizing faces. In fact, humans are so well evolved to recognize faces that we have a specific part of our brain that is dedicated to that very purpose. It's called the fusiform gyrus, and if your fusiform gyrus doesn't work, you end up with a condition called prosopagnosia, where you actually don't recognize faces, and it can be really debilitating for a lot of people in their social interactions. But most people can recognize faces extremely easily, which is why we see faces in things that aren't really faces at all. What's more is that these faces tend to be conveying a strong emotion. Back in the 1970s, a really famous psychologist called Paul Ekman identified 6 emotions that are universal across all cultures. They were happiness, sadness, fear, disgust, anger, and surprise. And what we tend to see is that the faces that YouTubers are putting in their thumbnails are conveying one of these 6 emotions. And the beautiful thing about conveying emotion on a face is that it is universal across all cultures. Using your face to convey the emotion that your video will cause your audience to feel is a great way to signal to a global audience. So using a highly emotive face has 2 purposes. One is to draw attention because humans are evolved to be very, very quick at paying attention to faces. And 2 is to convey the emotion that your video is going to make your audience feel, because that's a message that you can deliver to people of all cultures. The next thing I want to talk about is actually something which I think a lot of YouTubers are doing wrong, and I already talked about this on my Instagram, which you can follow here at PeteSpitsOfficial. So what I said on my Instagram was this. A trend that I've seen on YouTube is that a lot of YouTubers will be displaying their statistics in terms of subscribers and non-subscribers. And they'll say something like, from my analytics that I get from YouTube, apparently the majority of my viewers, you guys, don't subscribe to my videos. And so, please can you hit that subscribe button? Now, from a behavioural science point of view, this is an extremely bad idea. The behaviour that the YouTuber is trying to encourage is obviously to subscribe to their channel. But by saying that the majority of their audience actually don't subscribe to their channel, what they're doing is they're setting the social norm as not subscribing to your channel. Now, in behavioural science, we know that social norms are extremely powerful things that can change a lot of people's behaviour. Because people tend to be sheeple, we tend to follow the crowd. If you tell your audience that most of them don't subscribe to your channel, you're actually encouraging the behaviour of not subscribing to their channel. But simultaneously, a lot of YouTubers, even very successful YouTubers, continue to do this in their videos because they feel validated by their fellow YouTubers. And we call this a social proofing phenomenon. Because other people on YouTube are doing the same thing, they feel validated in their decision to include this segment in their video. But from a behavioural science point of view, it's quite likely that they're actually losing potential subscribers by doing this rather than increasing them. A better way to approach this problem would be to say, X number of you have already subscribed to my channel. If you want to help me reach this next subscriber milestone, please can you hit that subscribe button below and join our community.
Uncle Roger, almost at 3 million subscriber. And when we hit 3 million, Uncle Roger gonna do my egg fried rice review.
Speaking of which, guys, we just passed 750 subscribers, and if you want to join the under 1,000 subscriber club, please can you hit that subscribe button down below and ring that notification bell. Thank you very much. The next genius part about YouTube's choice architecture is the relatively recent addition to YouTube, which is the autoplay feature. Autoplay is on by default on YouTube, and we know that defaults are very powerful in behavioral science, but the genius part about autoplay is that it itself is a default. And the way that it's a default is that it makes a decision for you. After you watch one video, you don't have to make a decision about what video you want to watch next. Instead, YouTube starts loading one up automatically for you. This removal of a decision point from the YouTube experience means that people can automatically queue up video after video after video and therefore watch ad after ad after ad. It's an extremely easy feature for a company like YouTube to implement on their website, but yet the amount of viewer retention and the number of ads that they can push to their audience grows significantly more. So if you find yourself addicted to YouTube, then you should definitely turn off autoplay. I mean, watch all of my videos on autoplay and definitely don't turn it off. And finally, let me reveal to you what behavioral science technique I used on you, and that was, well, it was actually telling you that I had something to reveal to you at the end of this video. You see, YouTube favors really long retention times in its algorithm, so to get you guys to watch to the end of this video, I told you a mystery. I told you that there was something which I was going to reveal to you at the end of this video, and that itself is a behavioral science technique. Famous social psychologist Robert Cialdini writes about this in his book Pre-Suasion. What Cialdini found was that when he was giving a lecture in his university, he could start the lecture by giving his students a puzzle, and by the end of the lecture, nobody was hurriedly packing away and trying to leave 5 minutes early like is usually the case. Instead, everybody was eagerly waiting and attentive for the whole lecture time. Here, I've applied the same principle to this video to get you guys to watch to the end of this video. Sorry for tricking you, but I at least hope you learned something new. Alright, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please can you give it a like because it really helps me out. Also, make sure you're subscribed if you haven't already because more videos like this are coming soon. Alright, thank you guys so much, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.